Have you ever felt a chill run down your spine for no reason while driving down a deserted road at night? That strange, creeping sensation that something or someone is watching you, even when everything around you is completely silent. Yeah. It's not always just your imagination. There are places where fear doesn't come from the darkness itself, but from the stories whispered by truckers, old locals, and brave travelers. Places where legends come alive, and the impossible seems to happen with disturbing frequency. A lot of people believe these stories are just folklore born from exhaustion or superstition. But what if some of these tales hide real experiences? What if someone truly saw something, heard something, and lived to tell the tale? This isn't about movies or fiction. These are real accounts, from everyday people, who've encountered the unexplainable on lonely highways, inside forgotten homes, and in towns where the supernatural seems to clock in like it's just another shift. From witches that appear among strange stone formations to phantom hitchhikers that vanish into thin air, we're about to explore stories that challenge logic and skepticism. You'll not only hear the tales, but also discover their origins, the reactions of those involved, and, when possible, the explanations if they exist. We're not here to tell you what's real or made up. We're here to dive between the lines of each account and understand why they fascinate us so deeply. If you've ever gone through something strange but never had the guts to share it, you're in the right place. And if nothing like that has ever happened to you, well, maybe it's only a matter of time before the road plays a trick on you too. So take a deep breath, make sure your headlights are on and come with me. The road ahead is darker than it seems. Between Sonora and Chihuahua, along a dimly lit road framed by dry hills and desert brush, there's a stretch that locals avoid after sundown. It's known as Cava del Silencio, the curve of silence. At first glance, it looks like any other bend in the road. But those who pass through it, especially alone, often report the air getting heavier, all sound vanishing, and a strange presence filling the car like an unwanted passenger. It's right there, among large stones stacked in unnatural ways, that the legend of La Bruja de las Piedras was born. Truckers and travelers alike have reported seeing a woman standing on the stones. At first, she seems like just another lost soul in white, but as you approach, your headlights flicker, your radio crackles, and the woman vanishes into thin air, like smoke caught in the wind. Some swear she stares with glowing eyes. Others say they've heard soft laughter or muffled whispers almost like a prayer. One thing's for sure, no one leaves that place the same. Something changes even if it's just your peace of mind. There are reports of vehicles stalling exactly at that spot. Engines cut off with no warning even in brand new cars. When the engine dies, a cold breeze often flows in through the window and someone always seems to hear the witch calling a name. The creepiest part? It's almost always the name of someone close to the driver. The panic is so intense, some people abandon their cars and walk back on foot, risking theft or wild animals just to get away. Locals believe the figure is the restless spirit of a woman accused of witchcraft in the late 1800s. She lived in isolation, practiced rituals with desert stones and herbs, and was eventually stoned to death out of fear and ignorance. Her spirit, they say, is still tied to that land where her blood was spilled. The story has been passed down for generations and gained even more power as modern sightings continue to surface, turning that curve into a place of collective dread. No one dares alter a thing about Idavan now. But is she truly a witch? Or are we dealing with one of those manifestations born from the collective unconscious, fed by fear and imagination until it seems to take on a life of its own? The fact is, the reports keep coming. Videos and audio clips have even appeared online showing what some claim is the ghostly figure among the rocks. Are they real? That's another story. But something is definitely off about that stretch of road. And this isn't an isolated case, there are other roads with even scarier stories. You've probably heard of the ghost hitchhiker stories. Drivers pick someone up, exchange a few words, and moments later poof, passengers gone, seatbelt still fastened. Creepy, right? These tales show up with unsettling frequency on so-called haunted highways. One of the most famous comes from Route 5 in northern Mexico, where multiple drivers swear they've given a lift to a silent woman in a blue dress. She gets in, points out a destination, and then vanishes before they ever hear a vino door sound, no footsteps. Just gone. Strangely, these apparitions always seem to appear in dangerous areas, sharp bends, stretches with long accident histories, places where death lingers in the air. One trucker, driving along the infamous Cava de los Muertos, the Curve of the Dead, said he saw a line of people marching across the road at night. When he slammed the brakes, there was nothing. Just silence. Just his own heart pounding like a drum. And then there's the déjà vu. Drivers report passing the same spot multiple times, like they're caught in a time loop. GPS gets scrambled, clocks on the dashboard jump forward or backward, and a deep, eerie confusion sets in. Some say the only way to break the loop is to stop the car, turn off the engine, take a deep breath, and wait for things to reset. Easier said than done when you're alone, on a dark road, where time feels like it's folding in on itself. There are even entire regions believed to be cursed. Locals will warn you with a serious face, don't stop at night. No matter what. One example is a stretch of Brazil's BR-116 highway, nicknamed Fixa das Almas, the Strip of Souls. There, unexplained lights flicker, shadows dart across the road, and truckers claim their radios sometimes pick up voices in languages that don't exist. And it's not just Brazil. Chile, Argentina, Mexico, every country seems to have its own cursed paths. So why roads? Maybe it's the symbolism of the journey, the unknown ahead, the loneliness of the traveler. Or maybe it's the perfect mix of fatigue, silence, and darkness that makes the mind vulnerable. But maybe, just maybe, some of these stories really do have a kernel of truth. After all, how do you explain so many people, from so many places, telling such similar tales? And the scariest part? The phenomenon doesn't stop at the road. Sometimes, the haunting follows you home. Who hasn't heard of someone who moved into their dream house, only to end up living a nightmare? And we're not talking plumbing issues or noisy neighbors, we're talking about something far more unsettling. People report feeling sudden chills in certain rooms, hearing footsteps above them when no one else is home, or seeing shadows at the same time every night. These haunted homes aren't as rare as you might think, and often, the dark history of the place only comes to light after the family has settled in. One of the most common signs? Unexplainable sounds. Doors that open by themselves. Objects that move or fall with no wind. Crying, whispers, or rhythmic knocking in the dead of night. Most homeowners try to explain it away. Maybe it's the wood settling, must be the cat, until the incidents start stacking up. Some people have even recorded late-night audio to prove they're not imagining things. What they've captured? Pure chills. But what haunts people the most isn't the noise, it's the feeling. That constant sensation of being watched, even when you're alone. Some say it feels like the house has eyes. Others feel a weight in the air, as if something or someone is just standing there, waiting. It's so disturbing that many start sleeping with the lights on or avoiding entire sections of their home. And hey, raise something odd. Pets often notice it first. Dogs that bark at nothing, cats staring into empty corners as if something's there. Eventually, some residents learn that the house has a tragic backstory: murders, suicides, unsolved deaths, or even occult rituals. What they're experiencing might be emotional residue, leftovers from unresolved trauma. Some bring in spiritual help, mediums, pastors, shamans, or energy healers, attempting everything from sage cleansing to salt baths and exorcisms. Sometimes it helps. Other times, it makes things worse if the house itself doesn't want to be disturbed. So are these real ghosts? Or is the human mind, when pushed by stress and fear, capable of creating its own horror show? Maybe it's one, maybe the other, or maybe a bit of both. What's certain is that these haunted houses are more common than we care to admit. And their stories keep spreading, mutating, evolving, almost like fear itself has a will to live. Which brings us to the big question: why do these stories keep surviving? By now, many might be asking, are these stories really based on true events? Or are they just urban legends that grew stronger over time? Truth is, it's hard to give a definitive answer. But one thing is clear: when the same kind of story gets repeated over and over again, there's usually something underneath it, begging to be understood. Maybe it was a traumatic event that left a mark. Maybe it was just a coincidence that grew into belief. Or maybe it's something that defies all explanation. What these stories all have in common is the emotional impact they leave in those who live them and those who hear them. One possible explanation lies in how the human mind works. In moments of fear, our brains are wired to fill in the gaps. A shadow becomes a figure. A sound becomes a voice. That doesn't mean people are lying, it just means that perception is deeply affected by emotion, darkness, and isolation. Some experts talk about mass hysteria: when a story spreads and more people believe it, more people start experiencing it, not because it's fake, but because fear itself distorts how we see reality. But then, why do these stories keep being passed down from generation to generation? Maybe because fear brings people together. Or maybe because, deep down, we actually enjoy playing with the unknown as long as it keeps its distance. These legends also serve as symbolic warnings: don't drive at night, don't stop on deserted roads, don't trust that quiet house down the block. It's like our subconscious creating rules to stay safe. And let's be honest, nothing beats a good story told in whispers, especially when it leaves you glancing over your shoulder. Oral tradition plays a huge role in keeping these tales alive. Grandmothers, truck drivers, fishermen, old townsfolk, they're the guardians of these stories. They pass them on with vivid details, advice, and sometimes even a little humor. It's as if each generation renews an unspoken pact with the unknown: I tell, you listen, and together we keep the mystery alive. That's why, even in a world full of cameras and sensors, we keep hearing about apparitions, eerie events, and collective chills. Fear has evolved, but it hasn't disappeared. In the end, believing or not might not be what really matters. What matters is what these stories stir in us: curiosity, respect, reflection. They remind us that not everything is under our control and that life sometimes has a darker side we'd rather not face. But what if we did face it? What if we tried to understand not just the supernatural, but what it all says about us? The road might end here, but the journey into the unknown is far from over. After traveling down so many dark highways, around twisted curves, through creaky doors and haunted rooms, maybe what lingers isn't the fear but the fascination. These stories, from the Witch of the Stones to the houses where time seems to stand still, have something that goes far beyond just the supernatural. They show us that no matter how advanced we become, no matter how rational we claim to be, we are still deeply drawn to mystery. And honestly, that's okay. Deep down, we all carry questions no one can fully answer. The real question isn't whether you believe in ghosts, witches, or hitchhikers who vanish from your passenger seat. The question is, why do these stories shake us so much? Why, in a world built on data and science, do we still pause when we hear a strange tale? Why do we feel goosebumps rise on our arms when we whisper, "What if that happened to me?" Maybe it's because these stories tap into something profoundly human: our fear of the unknown, our memory of what's been lost, and our awareness that not everything can or should be explained. Think about it: how many times have you dismissed a feeling, a strange moment, a weird dream just because you couldn't prove it? How often have you ignored your intuition out of fear of being laughed at? The truth is, the unexplainable is part of life. And sometimes, denying it is like denying a piece of yourself. These stories that travel across generations? They're not just for entertainment. They're an invitation. An invitation to listen more closely to the silence on the road, to the stillness in your room, to the whisper inside you. If any part of what you heard today made you think of something, an unresolved memory, a place you avoid, a dream that haunts you, maybe it's time to give that story a voice. Talk to someone. Write it down. Dig a little deeper. These tales survive because they're shared. And more importantly, because they're lived. Maybe, just maybe, what you've been calling a coincidence is something else trying to get your attention. So hey, race my invitation to you: subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and join me as we explore more haunted paths, hidden corners, and eerie stories that still haven't found an ending. And if you've ever experienced something strange, don't keep it to yourself. Drop a comment, share your story, or send it in, because maybe your tale is the next one waiting to be told. In the end, we all have a mystery tucked away in a drawer somewhere. The only question is, will you keep it locked up, or will you finally let it out?